Marius Høiby. Charged. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Marius Borg Høiby is the 28-year-old progeny of Norway's Crown Princess Mette-Marit. His life trajectory screams of the classic narcissistic blueprint. Entitlement that has then become enveloped in privilege, control, and a trail of devastation left in the wake of his insatiable need for fuel. Even without a title, the shadow of the throne has loomed large over him, feeding his illusion of superiority from cradle and now to courtroom. Høiby was born in 1997 to Mette-Marit. Back then, she was a single mother with a colourful past of her own: parties, drugs, and unconventional liaisons. Marius entered the world without the fanfare of royal blood. His biological father, Morten Borg, a convicted drug offender, provided the first whisper of chaos in his lineage. But it was Mette-Marit's 2001 marriage to Crown Prince Haakon that catapulted young Marius into the orbit of privilege. Suddenly, the boy was Petit Marius, little Marius, the adorable stepson paraded before the Norwegian public, residing at the opulent Skaugum estate, rubbing shoulders with Europe's elite. But he had already been imbued with the seed of narcissism, with the genetic predisposition, and his upbringing was one of chaos and then of entitlement. The classic lack of control environment. He had the illusion of being special, but without the burden of accountability, for his narcissism rejects that. As a child, he was shielded by the royal machine, media handles crafting his image, wealth insulating him from consequences. Nevertheless, in his early years, the cracks appeared as his narcissism drove his behaviour. Reports from those close to the family hinted at a boy who chafed against boundaries, where he demanded attention and resented the spotlight that he shared with his half-siblings, Princess Ingrid Alexandra and Prince Sverre Magnus. Princess Ragnhild, Haakon's aunt, reportedly harboured a premonition of trouble, sensing Marius's underlying hostility towards Mette-Marit and the royal constraints. Such familial discord is classic. Naturally, Høiby viewed others not as equals, but as simply appliances for fuel to provide him with the admiration, pity, or fear that he craved. Marius, lacking a title, utilised that with regard to his own internalised victim narrative. I am royal in blood, but denied in name, fueling a simmering resentment that would erupt in adulthood. By his teens, his behaviours began to escalate, veiled under the guise of youthful rebellion. He dabbled in the party scene, much like his mother's pre-royal days, but he utilised his connections to access exclusive circles, enabling him to assert control through dominance. In 2017, aged 20, he dramatically withdrew from public life, announcing via Instagram that he sought privacy to pursue normal endeavours like motorcycle mechanics and fashion editing. Nevertheless, this was no humble retreat, but it was once again a manipulation seeking to draw sympathy fuel whilst once again evading scrutiny. This supposed privacy allowed him to operate in the shadows, seeking to free himself from the royal code that might otherwise curb his impulses. Then came the romantic entanglements, which is where his true behaviours really did bleed through. Marius's relationships read like the archetypal playbook of narcissistic abuse: idealization, devaluation, and disengagement. In 2022, he dated model Julianne Snekkerstad, a union splashed across social media with curated images of bliss. Yet it ended abruptly amid whispers of volatility. Then came Nora Hauckland, another high-profile liaison that dissolved in acrimony. Police investigations later revealed patterns of control, restraining orders violated, threats issued, all hallmarks of the manipulations of the narcissist who views partners as a simple extension of self, to be possessed and punished when they fail to be controlled, when they fail to provide unyielding fuel. These women were not lovers of Høiby, they were sources, there to be drained, then smeared, or hoovered back for more. Matters turned for the worse in August 2024, when Marius was arrested for assaulting a girlfriend in Oslo. The incident, a violent outburst involving bodily harm and property damage, explosion of ignited fury, captured on audio, where he ranted with unbridled heated ignited fury. This is a consequence of the threat to control. His entitlement was exposed, the heated ignited fury coming to the surface as it drove him to reassert the control. He admitted to assault and vandalism, but denied graver charges, denial being the first line of the twin lines of the narcissistic defense. The investigation ballooned, uncovering a web of offences spanning 2018 to 2024. Allegations of 4 rapes, abuse in close relationships, filming intimate acts without consent, death threats, and assaults on public officials. Prosecutors tallied 32 counts, with victims in the double digits, some allegedly violated while incapacitated. All demonstrative, the allegations, of a lack of emotional empathy, a failure to recognise boundaries, the necessity of the collection of individuals as trophies, recording them, a digital hoard of fuel to be revisited in appropriate moments. His drug use amplified this situation. Tests post-arrest revealed cocaine, ecstasy, and cannabis in his system, again demonstrating an absence of accountability through drug taking. These substances also are providers of a fuel substitute. His history suggests a pattern. Parties in his youth, echoing his father's convictions, now manifesting in aggression. Financial recklessness was further demonstrative of his narcissism. Once boasting access to a fortune from royal perks and ventures, he now teeters on ruin. He squandered resources as a consequence of his entitlement and his lack of accountability. The utilization of lavish spending to impress, to assert control, debts ignored as a failure to account. His business pursuits, like fashion editing, were simply an attempt to draw fuel and were not genuine enterprise. When a known criminal contacted Mette Marit after Marius' September 2024 Cabrin apprehension, it hinted at shady associations, perhaps debts or deals gone awry. Throughout his life, his behaviour has screamed of his narcissism, the absence of emotional empathy, grandiosity, manipulation. He clashed with family as a teen, resenting Mette Marit's new life. In adult, his withdrawals from public life were pity plays, drawing media attention while dodging responsibility. And now he has found himself, with the investigations having moved forward, that he's been charged with 32 offences, including 4 counts of rape, according to a prosecutor. The charges against Marius Borg Høiby, age 28, include the abuse of a former partner and violations of restraining orders against another former partner. If those allegations are correct, this is demonstrative of the absence of emotional empathy, the sense of entitlement, the lack of boundary recognition, and the pursuit of the prime aims by a narcissist. He denies the most serious accusations against him, but plans to plead guilty to some lesser charges when the trial starts. His lawyer, Petr Sekulic, has told Reuters news agency. He could face up to 10 years in prison if found guilty of the most serious charges. He has been charged with filming the genitals of a number of women without their knowledge or consent, prosecutor Sturla Henriksberg told reporters. He does not agree with the claims regarding rape and domestic violence, his lawyer explained. Speaking about the charges against his stepson, Norwegian Crown Prince Haakon said it was up to the courts what would happen, adding that everyone involved in the case probably finds it challenging and difficult, Norwegian public broadcaster NRK reported. The 4 alleged rapes are said to have occurred between 2018 and 2024, with one of them allegedly taking place after his arrest, according to NRK. Again, if that is proven, it demonstrates how his narcissism is such a force that it causes him to continue to offend, even when he's under the scrutiny of the relevant prosecuting authorities. He doesn't have a royal title or official duties and was arrested 3 separate times last year in August, September and November. He had been under investigation since his August arrest on suspicion of assault. In June, police said he was suspected of 3 rapes and 23 other offences. The prosecutor said the trial could take place in January and last some 6 weeks. It'll certainly be interesting to see what happens during that trial, the evidence that is put forward, and whether he gives evidence in his defence. The picture is a bleak one at this juncture. Naturally, he is innocent until proven guilty. But the fact that he is going to plead guilty to some lesser offences, combined with the evidence of his problematic life so far, combined with the fact that he is a narcissist, points to a greater likelihood that he will have engaged in the matters that he is accused of. Certainly, it is not conclusive, and one must wait until the trial proper examines the evidence. But, once again, we see an individual who is a narcissist, having acquired the genetic predisposition towards narcissism from his parents, and then, as a consequence of his childhood and subsequent upbringing, found himself in a lack of control environment, that it was almost inevitable that he would become a narcissist. The result? A troublesome individual who has no due regard for the rights of other people, who evades responsibility, and has behaved in the manner as alleged. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.